In space, nothing should survive. No air, no water, no sense of time. And yet, something smaller than a grain of sand went there and came back, not repaired, not born, but unchanged. In the silent vacuum beyond Earth, where pressure collapses cells and radiation shreds DNA, something microscopic endures. Not a machine, not a probe, a living animal, smaller than a grain of sand. It dries out, shuts down, and waits. Scientists exposed it to space expecting death. What returned was something else entirely. Alive, intact, and unbothered by conditions designed to erase life itself. Tardigrades are not myths. They live in moss, in soil, in places too small to notice. 8 legs, a mouth built to pierce, a body barely half a millimeter long. For decades, they were curiosities, until scientists removed everything they need to live, and the animals did not die. They were frozen, boiled, crushed by pressure that collapses steel, then placed into orbit, exposed directly to solar radiation, to vacuum, to the raw architecture of space. No oxygen, no water, no protection. Hours passed, then days. When returned to Earth, many simply rehydrated and continued living. Science tried to explain it carefully. Tardigrades, it said, do not resist death. They avoid it. When conditions collapse, their bodies shut down. Metabolism slows to almost nothing. Water leaves their cells. Proteins fold inward. They enter a state called cryptobiosis, a pause so deep it resembles disappearance more than survival. In cryptobiosis, life becomes unrecognizable. Cells shrink, chemical reactions halt, DNA coils into silence. To instruments, the tardigrade appears inert, neither alive nor dead. This state can last years, sometimes decades, but space should destroy even this. Radiation fractures DNA, vacuum rips membranes apart, and yet something remains intact. Under normal biology, this should be impossible. Cells depend on water. Remove it and structures collapse. DNA breaks, proteins unravel, membranes fail, radiation accelerates the damage. One pass through space should be enough. Yet tardigrades return functional, genetically coherent, not repaired, preserved. Researchers searched for shields. They found unusual proteins, dense sugars like trehalose, molecules that harden cells from the inside. Some proteins form glass-like matrices. Others bind directly to DNA. They limit damage. They slow destruction, but none of them explain everything. Remove one, the animal still survives. Remove several, survival continues. Protection is present. Understanding is not. One protein unsettled researchers more than the rest. It wraps around DNA, physically blocking radiation. Human cells engineered to express it suffer less genetic damage, but even DSOP has limits. It reduces harm, it does not eliminate it. The numbers still do not add up. According to physics, tardigrade DNA should be shattered, yet it is not. This is where biology begins to fail. Known life cannot pause itself completely. Entropy never stops. Molecules drift. Damage accumulates. Information decays. Even spores deteriorate. Even seeds expire. Space accelerates this process violently. Radiation does not ask permission, yet tardigrades return unchanged, as if time itself lost its grip, not slowed, ignored. Physics insists on limits. Energy disperses, order collapses. Nothing escapes degradation forever. Living systems survive by constant repair. Without metabolism, repair is impossible. Tardigrades violate this balance. They stop repairing. They stop reacting. Yet damage does not accumulate as expected. No mechanism fully accounts for this suspension. It is not resistance. It is absence. Some scientists suggest quantum scale effects. Extremely low water content may suppress molecular motion. Free radicals struggle to form. Chemical chaos slows. Others propose vitrification. Cells solidify into a glass-like state. Reactions freeze mid-step, but these ideas remain partial. Models predict degradation. Experiments show survival. The gap between theory and observation remains wide, too wide to ignore. Evolution offers no comfort here. Traits persist because they confer advantage. But space is not an environment. Tardigrades did not evolve among stars. They never needed to. Yet their biology behaves as if prepared for cosmic absence. No selective pressure explains this resilience. It appears as a side effect, an accident, a capability without context, which makes it more disturbing, not less. If this ability is incidental, then biology is hiding capacities it never needed to reveal. Life may be more permissive than humans assumed, not optimized, not efficient, simply capable of extremes without intent. Tardigrades expose a margin of survival far beyond known necessity, a buffer built into life itself, one that science did not know existed. Theories begin to contradict each other. Some suggest unknown molecular stabilizers. Others argue measurement is incomplete. A few quietly admit the framework itself may be wrong, that life is not always governed by continuous activity, that biological time can fracture. Pause, resume, no decay in between. If this is true, then dormancy is not weakness. It is a hidden state of power. Laboratories repeat the experiments. Results remain consistent, uncomfortable. Survival rates vary, but survival itself persists. No single gene explains it. No pathway controls it. Remove components, the system adapts. It behaves less like a machine and more like a phase of matter, transitioning when conditions demand. Alive, then not alive, then alive again. Science has no language for this state. Control is the illusion that breaks here. Humans preserve life by managing conditions. Temperature, pressure, chemistry. Tardigrades require none of it. They endure collapse, then wait. No intervention, no correction, just suspension. If life can withdraw this completely, then survival is not always about dominance. Sometimes it is about vanishing until reality changes its mind. This forces an uncomfortable question. If life can hide from the universe, what else has learned to do the same? Extinction assumes exposure, assumes vulnerability. Tardigrades suggest another option. A retreat so complete it leaves no signature, no struggle, no decay, just absence. If such states are common, then life may persist unseen, not by spreading, but by waiting beyond detection. Astrobiology listens carefully to this silence. If life can endure vacuum, radiation, and time without activity, then planets are no longer requirements. Worlds may go dormant. Civilizations may pause. Extinction events may not erase life, only hide it. The universe could be filled with organisms not evolving, not signaling, not detectable, present, but effectively invisible. This reframes humanity's position quietly. Exploration assumes discovery. Detection assumes presence announces itself. But tardigrades contradict that logic. Survival does not require expansion, or communication, or awareness. It may require only patience. If life can outlast catastrophe by becoming unobservable, then intelligence is not the peak of evolution. It is merely one strategy, and not the most durable one. The tardigrade does not explain itself. It does not adapt for spectacle. It does not teach. It simply persists, quietly, without metabolism, without time. Science measures it, labels it, still fails to contain it. In the vacuum of space, nothing should survive. Yet something waits, not alive, not dead, just beyond explanation.